In part 2 of our interview, she's still seeing dead people. Next on the Back to Paranormal podcast. Well, hello. This is Marjorie.
Hello.
And
I'm not a dead person.
No.
I'm alive.
Well, that's good.
Yes.
That's good.
It is good.
And I'm Brian.
You're Brian Mitchell.
I am.
Host of Back to Paranormal.
The host and hostess.
Good evening.
That's it. So how's everybody doing today?
Very well. We are doing... It's hot. It's hot.
It's hot. This is a hot week.
It's a hot week.
Hit 100 degrees here in New York.
Over.
Yes.
Over 100.
And my tires were melting into the pavement.
No.
It's so bad. Anyway, welcome back to the show, everybody.
Yeah. How are you this evening?
I'm doing great. You're looking great.
Oh, thank you.
What are you wearing? You're wearing this beautiful outfit. So anyway, we're our part 1 of this interview with Heidi Steffens, and she is she's pretty amazing. She's a pretty amazing guest, and we cut it off.
She's a wonderful guest.
Yes, and
but we had to do it in 2 parts because
it got too long.
Well, no, I honestly could have talked to her for even longer. I was like, "Don't go!" At the very end.
Well, we're going to try to have her back, but meanwhile, we have part 2 coming up,
which is very exciting. We're
going to be talking about a little bit about Bigfoot at the end of this.
Oh, brace
UFOs.
yourself for a lovely little Bigfoot Easter egg at the very end of the.
If you missed part 1, she is she's a shamanic minister, and she is also a Reiki master. She's had spiritual experiences when she was very young, and didn't know how to process that stuff. If you didn't listen to part 1, you should really go back and listen to it, because she talks about seeing dead people.
I like that this is a story of a person who was plagued with something that was an anomaly. It's not normal for all of us to have, and how through her life she got herself to a point where she could have a mastery over this special feature to her capabilities.
Yeah, I mean, some people early on, if they said they were seeing people and, nobody else is seeing those people, they would classify them as, like a witch or... Mad, yeah. Mm-hmm. So, fortunately, she was able to somehow deal with it and come to grips with it and actually realize that it was something good that she can help people with.
Yeah.
So, no, she's an amazing lady, and I'm glad we did this interview. So, but before we get to that...
Oh, yes, we have a beverage. It is a very hot summer day.
It is, and this is from a California winery, I believe. And,
it is.
Yes, and what is it, Marjorie?
It's California Chardonnay.
And is it
from California? It's lightly oaked Chardonnay
from California. Yes. So anyway,
let's
we're
check
gonna.
It out.
Okay, so here it is.
California Chardonnay. It's very it's controversial.
Yes, it is.
Because people say, "Oh, it's too buttery. Oh, it's too oaky." So we're going to give this lightly oaked one a go.
Ready? Okay, here we go. So we're going to boop. No countdown.
Don't.
You're going to be annoyed by that. No. I'm going to say that every week. Okay, boop. Here we go. 1. Oh.
You did it.
I did it.
You knew you had. You just can't. You know what?
To give you
countdown, don't count down. I love you.
If you didn't listen to part 1, I did a count. I always do a countdown, and I didn't know this, but Marjorie hates the countdown. So I said, okay, no countdown. So now we just have to kind of go and do this by telepathy. Okay, so here we go.
Can't with you. Boo. You just counted down. It's fine.
No, I'm not counting.
Fine. I relent.
Here we go. No, we're going to do this by telepathy. No countdown. It's going to be a mental countdown. Okay. I hope everybody's with me.
Nice.
There we go.
Boop.
Boop.
I don't think you like it.
No, it's kind of a little fruity.
You do.
Yeah.
You like it.
Has a dimension to it.
It's nice and cold, and I chilled the glasses before.
Oh, thank you so much.
Because these glasses are very thick, and when you put them in the freezer, they just get so nice and frosty.
Frosty. Mm-hmm. Yes, well, that's really good. Well, I'm going to be sipping that throughout this interview.
Oh, good. I'm glad, honey.
And hopefully I'll have a little bit left to have at the end of the interview.
Okay, my angel.
So what do you say? Let's get right to it, right?
Let's do Heidi Steffens Part 2. Love it.
Okay, hope you enjoy. Do you ever get people coming in that they say that they feel like they're blocked? They're having some sort of a spiritual problem in their lives where maybe everything is going okay and then all of a sudden it's just like nothing is working for them. Do you ever get anything like that people come to you for?
Oh, yeah.
She does. She has manifesting services and manifesting services.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, it's a common thing, actually. And actually, I just did a collaborative book that came out in March, and my chapter starts out with that story.
Really?
And it's a story that's, that story is not an actual person, but it's a collective of so many people that have come to me and said those things. Like, I've just hit this point where I realize I'm stuck. I feel alone. I don't know what to do. Mm-hmm. And unfortunately, it's super common. Like, it's sad how common it is, that happens.
So common, in fact, that you had to amalgamate all of these to just to convey the commonality of the. Mm-hmm. That's amazing.
How do you even go about helping people with that?
Unblocking.
Is that because they're being blocked, or is it something personal that is causing that? What do you think?
Well, and some of it is, usually when I meet with someone, I do some work ahead of time if we're doing a reading or something, and I'll tune into their energy before they come in to the session or before we do a session if it's a virtual session, and I'll get some information, and then we'll just we'll start talking about like where they're at with things, mm-hmm. and what starts coming through while we're in session is things that they want us to look at. And so Spirit will give me questions to ask them, not questions, but things to look at, because we know already what the answer is. But if you've ever done something where someone's like, this is the answer and that's it, it's like, well, how do you know what? So we take this journey together, mm-hmm. and we work on like, well, here, they're showing me this time of your life. What was going on then? Because a lot of times when we're stuck now, there's roots that we have to follow that go mm-hmm. further back. And so it's looking at these roots and kind of digging them out so we can find the source.
Diagnostic.
Because sometimes the source of what's going on is not current. And we need to find the source. And this is kind of where the shamanic energy comes into play, is because everything is current. There's no time and space. I shouldn't say there's no time and space. There is time and space, but there's no set line of energy. Like, the past is still present. The future is present. Everything is now. Mm-hmm. And
I keep hearing that.
The past is affecting us.
Right.
If the past is affecting us now, mm-hmm. Our now is affecting our future. So why don't we go into the past and see what could be affecting us now that we can rewrite, where can we do some healing around that, mm-hmm. so that it stops holding you back now, which then will affect your future self. And mm-hmm. it's a really interesting process. And I love doing it because when people tell me they're stuck, it's almost like I get my spiritual detective hat on, and I'm like, okay, let's dig. We're going to find out what's going on so that you can be free of whatever it is that's holding you back.
I'm picturing you in a rainbow tweed deerstalker right now.
Perfect. Perfect.
Your spiritual detective hat. I love that.
Yes. So, yeah, it's very common. And it's sad that it's common because I think we get caught up in life. And one of my phrases, when life gets lifey, right? And I think that happens and we just start to focus on whatever's right in front of us and we forget and we don't realize how much spiritual help and assistance and guidance we actually can receive. But it takes, that faith and trust, and that's hard sometimes. So it is quite the journey.
I think people get weighed down from the the day to day.
Tunnel vision.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's like I kind of realize that there's something else. But there are people that go through life, and we've talked about this on the show, where they go to work, they get up, they have their Wheaties or whatever it is in the morning. They get in the car, they're on the phone, they're dealing with work. They get to work, and it's just like, that's it. That's their existence for the day. Nothing else. They come home, they take a shower, whatever. They may go jogging or whatever. They turn on the TV, they watch the news, and then then it's lights out. They brush their teeth, they go to sleep.
Another linear day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's like, and
A series, a string of tasks and doings.
Yeah. And it's like, and if it doesn't fit into that particular mold or that box, it's like, they want nothing of it. It's almost like spirituality or religion, and anything else just goes out the window. Love, that whole thing is just pushed away. You ever get people like that are just like, they have that going on in their life and they're seeking for something more? Because I've heard of people actually committing suicide over something like that, like because they feel like this is it, right? This is my life.
Yeah.
You ever get people that turn to you for stuff like that?
Yeah. Yep. And it's so important to make sure that people know that they are loved. They're so loved. And I can feel when someone comes into my space or that I'm meeting with virtually, that when they feel that they're not worthy of that, or they don't have that, it's so important to make sure that they understand that they do, and that they are so loved, and they are the most important thing on this planet, is for them just being here, their presence. And it is so sad when you feel that hopelessness in someone, that there's just, what's the point? And just going through the motions. And I've talked to so many people that are like, well, this is it. I've hit it. There's nothing else. What else am I supposed to do here? And it's like, oh my gosh, really? Let's get spirit involved. I'm sure they've got lots of good stuff for you to explore. So let's do that. Let's explore and find out what you can do on the next leg of this journey. There's so much more. Even if I'm working with someone who is, at the, what they feel is the end of their life, they've lived a long life. It's like, no, there's always more to explore. There's always more. Even if physically you can't explore, spiritually it's unlimited, and spirit will help you through all of it. They will show you exactly where you can go with it, and it's so beautiful. And so we just have to open our hearts and our minds and just allow space. I mean, that's one of the things that I talk about in my new book that's coming out, and the one that I just wrote too. I'm like, spirit needs space. We fill it up, like you guys were talking about earlier. We fill it up. We fill our lives up with so much stuff, just again, like you said, Marjorie, that linear path is just, work, eat, sleep, work, eat, sleep. It's like, no, if we can move some of that stuff out of the way and maybe open up some space. And I think people are afraid of having space in their lives. They have to fill it with scrolling on the internet, and they have to fill it with TV or whatever. And if we just open up a little bit of space and allow spirit in, we will have a totally different outlook on our lives and our connections with everything, because it will connect us with everything. It'll connect us with the earth. It'll connect us with divine source. We just need to let them in, stop filling up our space.
Right.
Have you ever had an out-of-body experience? And if so, is it something that happened to you and it just kind of took you unawares, or is it something that you willed yourself to do, to transcend out of?
So I've had lots of outer body experiences, and it's funny because there's quite a few different kinds. I'll count remote viewing as an out of body experience, but you're very aware to some degree of your physical surroundings when you're doing a remote view. But that was the first thing that I'm aware of that happened to me in my life that's around the spiritual experiences and intuitive, all of that. So I started doing out-of-body experiences when I was 3 in remote viewing. And I've done out-of-body experiences where I've been booted out of my body, so I did not choose that.
Oh, wow.
I've had out-of-body experiences where I chose to go out-of-body. And, so there's different versions of it. And when I'm doing a Reiki session, I'll have clients that have out-of-body experiences, and the first time it happens, they freak out because it feels really weird when you realize you've left your body. And what really startles people is when they realize they can't feel their heart beating or they can't feel themselves breathing.
Wow.
And it occurs to them that that's not happening. And then
that's
they usually
scary.
freak out and jump back in.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. I had an out of body experience when I was 3. I've talked about it on the podcast, and I just remember I went to sleep, and then all of a sudden I was looking down at my body, and somebody else was in the room, but I was like up toward the ceiling, looking down, and I knew this was an out of body experience because later on, because it was like, I wouldn't have had that vantage point of looking at myself. Yeah, maybe in a mirror, but not like that. And
Nope.
so I actually had somebody confirm that for me. It was a psychic medium, and we've had her on the show because she's amazing. I know we keep plugging her. We haven't said her name, but she basically, I said a prayer beforehand that I want to know if that was a real thing. And about 4 minutes or 3 minutes into the reading, she was coming up with all this stuff, and then all of a sudden she stopped and she looked at me and she said, "Oh, and that out-of-body experience that you had when you were 3 years old, that really did happen."
Jennifer Ann.
Yeah, really amazing.
Unbelievable.
Awesome.
Yeah, really amazing. But but that's the only time I've ever had that. And
Okay.
that's something that I've had all these different experiences. I've been, I've had after death communication with my dad through a telephone, which I've talked about too. But the thing is that there are times that I would like to experience that
I know,
again.
and you had an olfactory communication from your uncle.
Uncle, yes, yeah.
Yeah.
But I guess my point is that I get these things happening to me, but I cannot control what happens. It's either I have a premonition dream, or I get this, something being communicated to me telepathically, and then something happens, but I cannot control it. It's almost like. So I guess the big question is, can we control it? Is there a way of controlling it? Is
Heidi
there a way?
Steffens can.
Well, we know Heidi can, but
there
can because there are a lot of people that believe that, and psychic mediums will say this. They'll say everybody has this gift, everybody has this ability, but
I don't.
no, I think you do to a certain extent because we can kind of read each other's minds from time to time. So I think, but
That's true.
It's not like your experience where it's basically, all these spirits are in the room, and so I think people are either born more sensitive to it. We've also said this on the show that I believe that until a child is about 7 or 8,
Yeah.
they're very sensitive to all this stuff. And
Right.
yeah,
Yep.
Well, when I was small, I would get this just unbelievably intense, agonizing feelings of deja vu, like where I was convinced I've done this before, I've been here before, like, and it was so confusing, and everyone, oh, that's just deja vu. No, no, I've said this before. I'm repeating myself. Like, it was so confusing, and and then that went away.
Yeah.
And my little nephew, when he was small, he would get into this trance, and he'd just stare at me from across the room. And I know I'm repeating myself. I want to tell Heidi about this. And then he would quickly get very frustrated and shut his eyes tight and shake it off, And this happened several times, where he would just gaze at me, and then he'd just get so confused, and he would shake it off. And I saw what he was doing, and I remembered how I felt when I was little, and how I would get so confused, perplexed, and frustrated by that. So finally one day I went up to him, he did it again, and I sat down with him outside, and I said, sweetheart, you do this every now and then, and I just want to ask you, do you feel that you knew me from somewhere else? And then I just let it go, and he was young still, so he had a hard time
How old?
articulating it. Almost 4, like
Okay.
just about 4. And he was trying so hard to make his message clear. And basically what he ultimately said was, yes, I have known you. And then he said, when I was just a little baby, I knew that I knew you from before I was a little baby.
That's interesting.
And then a year later, I said, do you remember when you said that to me? And he had no recollection of it whatsoever. It was gone.
That's wild.
So
Yeah.
it was very interesting, because I could empathize with his frustration at being in a place, and everything is so solid and so right now and so real, and yet your mind is telling you this is the echo of something that has occurred from some other time in some other place.
Heidi, what's your thoughts on that?
Thank you.
I think, well, I could tell when you were just talking about the trance and how connected he was to you from a past life. And so that confusion, of being a kid, it's like, well, no, we're right here. What is this other memory that doesn't fit with what I know in this existence? So and it does happen. Yes, all kids are intuitive. All humans are intuitive. It's just, we get the programs, over, time. A lot of times it's society or our families or both, that just, there's other things we have to pay attention to. So we kind of filter out, our brain is being super helpful and saying, oh, everybody's saying that's not a thing, or nobody else is seeing it, so let's just filter that out. And so, yeah, we do lose that. A lot of people lose that ability at, up until 10 years old. Once we hit that kind of milestone, it seems that we're focused on other things. But I love hearing those stories where you just, you were connected in a past life. You absolutely were together, even if you have these like weird mix of memories or visions or something. It's like, oh, there's something there. And I wish we had, and some families probably do, but I wish there were more of us that were able to say, gosh, let's talk about that. Like, what does that look like to you? Tell me what you're seeing. To little ones that are having these experiences. and giving them a safe space to share, even if they, if everybody else thinks, oh, it's make believe. It's like, okay, fine. Well, still tell me what you're seeing. Let's talk about this. Just share.
Right.
Giving people a safe space to at least tell what's going on, because I think in some cases it's real.
Right.
Oh, we did a whole show on it, and there were some children whose stories were just amazing, and by the grace of God, their parents went along with them to get to the bottom of why are they like this, why are they feeling like this, and they're all really beautiful stories about how the parent helped them figure that out, so that they can now say, okay, that was a part of my life, but now this is my life, and they go on to live their life now.
Right.
And that was a fun show.
It was.
To do.
Heidi, do you believe that we're sent here like on a mission? Do you think that everybody has their purpose?
Yeah, I mean, we all have soul purposes, and some people, there are people that are sent here for specific reasons that are to change courses in communities or countries or history or whatever. But everyone comes with soul purposes. And I don't say soul purpose because we have many things that we're here to do. And one that we all get to check off the list is who we were born. That's a soul purpose.
Right.
And who we were born to, where we were born, our economic status, our ethnic background, all of that is, there's a reason, and so it starts to enter into, some of our soul purposes. Why are we here? What are we learning? And I don't see that anything is set, that it's written that this is how it's going to be. We all have free will on how we're going to live our soul purposes. But definitely we're all here for a reason. And I think sometimes, and this goes, Marjorie, what you were saying earlier about not being sensitive. It's like, well, wait a minute. If you shift your expectation of what you think sensitivities are or intuition is, you are intuitive. You are sensitive. Everybody is. And it's just, do we look at what the expectation is of what we think we should be to be considered sensitive or intuitive? And so, the same thing goes with, soul purpose. It's like, well, people come in all the time and they're like, I don't know if I'm fulfilling my soul purpose. I don't know what my soul purpose is. And it's like, well, hang on a second. You're putting a lot of pressure on yourself, and you're setting a lot of expectation about it has to be something grand that will go down in the history books. It's like, well, no, that's not necessarily the case. And you've already checked off probably a bunch of your soul purposes on your list already at this point in your life. So I think we all come here to do many things. And if we just shift our expectation of what we think we should be doing versus just what we can do or are doing, it can really change our outlook.
Interesting.
On our path.
I like that. I like looking at it that way.
Yeah. You said something earlier that you said at 20 you wanted nothing to do with this, 18 to 20. And yeah, we've often said this on the show, like if you told me 20 years ago I'd be doing a show about paranormal or a spiritual phenomenon, right? I would have said that you're out of
I
your mind.
never ever would have expected this.
This was kind of like, this is something that kind of crept up on us to do this podcast, and we happen to enjoy it very much. But I've had so many things happen over the years. I'm writing a book. I keep saying that, and it's not. Yeah, but it's not out yet, and it's still trying to finish up the last chapter of it. But you said that you didn't want anything to do with this. And I hear you. I hear how you kind of came around and got into this and started helping people.
I love it. Now she's the priestess and helps all these people and teaches classes and has a beautiful center and
Yeah,
it's definitely a turnaround, that's for sure. But
right.
again, I had one of those experiences when I was in my 20s, and basically one of my guides just grabbed me by the shoulders and was like, "What are you doing?
Wow.
You can't keep going in this direction. We have things to do." And it's always free will. Like, it's always my choice. But they're like, "We just need you to understand.
Right.
You don't have to go this direction." And I wasn't happy with the direction I was going anyway. So
Right.
I thought, well, I'm scared anyway, and I'm not happy. So maybe, if they're willing to help me, maybe I should not be too afraid of them and listen to them and see what happens. And that turned my corner there.
Do they have names?
No, I don't. I mean, no. And I'll say no. My spirit guides don't have names, and I don't really see them as humans. And I've done this on past shows too, where I've talked about spirit guides, because I don't see spirit guides as a human, because they're not human anymore, and they've lived so many lives, just like most of us have lived many lives. And so to give them one identity is sometimes helpful for people to see their spirit guides that way. Like, oh, I have this spirit guide and that spirit guide and this one, and I see them and I know their names, and that helps me organize them. Okay, great.
Right.
That's fine if that's what's helpful for you. I just see energy, and I can feel them. I know who they are.
Right.
I can trust them, but I don't see them identified as a human, because they're not human anymore.
Right.
And so it doesn't seem right to paint them as a human when that's not who they are. So
Would you
they don't have names. They
Right.
they just have energies, and I know who they are.
Would you consider them like guardian angels? Would you
Yeah, you
equate
could
it
look
to
at them
that?
that way. They're
Yeah.
technically not angels, though.
Okay.
Spirit guides and angels are different,
Okay.
because your spirit guides have been human and angels have not.
Ah,
Interesting.
that is interesting. Can we all channel into that? I mean, because they'll say in religion, in the Catholic religion, you can turn to your guardian angel, right? Can we turn to our spirit
Patron
guide?
saint.
Can we? Yeah, I mean, can we say a prayer to a spiritual guide and to help me, put me on the right direction or whatever?
Absolutely. We can talk to them anytime we want. It's important that in the beginning, and I teach people how to work with their spirit guides and how to recognize who they are, because I've also worked with people that have basically flung the door open, and I want all the experiences and I want all the happenings, and I get all these messages and I just trust. And it's like, well, hang on a second. There's stuff out there too that we want to be careful
Right.
that we're not falling into some weird little trap and we're getting false, messages.
Yeah, I
messages
think
from
I think
people
that's a big fear, right?
yeah.
People
And
have
it's
that.
a healthy fear to have, because
Yeah.
it's a real thing.
Right.
So we want to make sure that if we're going to be communicating, we want to communicate with beings who are here for our highest good.
Right.
And I mean, I work with people all the time that they found themselves painted into a corner, and they realize that who they've been working with is not here for their highest good. And now you're stuck.
Right.
This is going to be hard to get out of that. So it's not just fling the door open and, want to have experiences. It really does take a mindful and careful approach, because we don't want to do something that could end up being dangerous. So, just like you were saying, talking out loud or talking in our heads or whatever, just help me, give me the strength to get through the day. Just like you do any kind of prayer is great, and of course, to your divine source, whatever that is for you, whoever is perfect. If we want to start having back and forth communication, that's where we have to be very careful.
Right.
If we're having communication out and expecting an answer, we don't want to just fling that door open,
Right.
because that could be dangerous. That's where we start getting into trouble. And I've done a lot of that with people, and for whatever reason, I'm good at it. I can work with people, and they've been working with some dark stuff, and they don't realize until they get too far into it.
Yeah.
Right.
And I don't know how I ended up doing this kind of stuff, but they've come to me, and my spirit guides are like, remember how to do it. And I'm like, well, I've never done this before. And they're like, not in this lifetime. Remember how we do this. And so they've helped me help people get out from under that.
Yeah.
And
Weed that garden.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's you have to be very, very careful. It's not, you can't just have that back and forth communication,
Right.
just boom, you have to be very mindful on
Do you think
how
if
you
you
do that.
do you think if you say a prayer for divine guidance, if you pray, pray to God or Jesus, do you think that would help? Like, please protect me, and
I think so.
I think it would.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. I mean, if you, and really I call it praying out, right? If you're just praying out without expecting an answer, because I know growing up, I went to church, I believed in Jesus and his teachings, and I still do. But I would never expect an answer from Jesus, right? I would pray, help me get through this day, help me with these struggles, please give me the strength. And that was it. So I call it praying out, right?
Right.
That is great to do that. It's perfect because you're not expecting an answer,
Right.
but you're trusting that there's someone there to help you, that loves you unconditionally and that will be there for your highest good. And so that is always perfect. Always, always
Right.
perfect.
Oh.
Okay. I want to ask one last question, if I may.
Okay. One last question.
Heidi,
for you.
you live in Minnesota. Have you
Yeah.
ever seen Bigfoot? I want to know.
Okay, so I think yes. I can't say 100% because I don't have a photo or anything, but it
Right.
happened probably 6 or 7 years ago. Yeah, it was. Do you have time to hear it?
No,
Oh,
I
yeah.
want, I'm dying to hear this.
Okay, it's super cool. So
I just had
I
this feeling.
yeah, I was living. So my now husband, we had just moved in together not that long before, and I got a connection from a gal who was, and so we're living in this old farmhouse, probably, 8 miles from where we are now, and I was sitting in the living room of the farmhouse, and I just got on the phone with the gal. We were going to do a UFO investigation, right? So we were on the phone with her, and there was a couple of windows in the living room looking out into there's a field next to the farmhouse that we were in, so it's this open area, and there's this gap in the curtains, so I could see out into the field, and it was a nice day. It was daytime, and we're on the phone talking about this. She had this UFO experience, and it was some serious stuff going on, and she got my information, and I said, well, I don't do a lot of UFO stuff. I've done a couple of things. She goes, nope, I heard about you. I trust you. I got to talk to you. I'm like, okay, great. So we're on the phone, and I've always believed that there's a UFO Bigfoot connection, right? That could probably be a whole nother show.
No,
But anyway.
a lot of people feel that way. Yes.
Right.
Yeah, yeah.
Right. So I'm on the phone with her, broad daylight, and I'm looking out into the field through the curtains, and I see this figure go past the window, probably 5 feet from the window. It was super close. And these are tall farmhouse windows.
Right.
It was over 6 feet tall, full hair. It was no clothes, full hair, grayish brown, go past the window. And I about passed out when I saw, because I wasn't expecting. And I was like, Tim, oh my gosh. And I pointed, and I'm pointing, and he's like, what? And I'm like on this phone call, and I go out the window, nothing. He goes outside, runs around, nothing. And I was like, okay, that is weird.
You
and
were on the phone.
we're on the phone with the
yeah.
UFO thing. So I thought, okay, what are the odds? I don't believe in coincidence.
No, you don't.
We don't believe
we
in-
don't either.
We don't either.
Not at all. So then a
That
few weeks
is amazing.
later, a friend of mine came over, and she was white as a sheet when she came up to the house. And I'm like, are you okay? She's like, I swear. She came over at night. She goes, I swear I just saw Bigfoot run past my car on your driveway. And I didn't tell her about what I had seen
Right.
out the window. And our so my stepson, Tim's son, a couple of days after this phone call, he had said he saw a big, hairy something, he didn't know what, run past his window.
Wow.
So it was just after this whole UFO phone call, right? And then probably a week after the phone call, Tim and I were standing outside out of the back steps, and we heard this sound coming out of a tree. It was a cottonwood tree, really tall, probably 40 feet in the air. And it was so loud, and I can't remember. So there's a name of a book or a movie that's out. I'll have to figure out the name of it. I can't remember. And it was talking about intuitive Bigfoot and Bigfoot being interdimensional, right? And they had a vocalization in this movie, which I didn't hear until after I heard this thing. So Tim and I are standing outside in the backyard at night, and we hear something up in the tree. It is so loud, we can feel the vibration in our chests, in our like lungs and our chest cavity.
Wow.
Yeah.
It was so loud, and it was at least 40 feet in the air, and it had the same vocalization as what I later heard in this movie on
Wow.
Bigfoot.
Wow.
And I'm like, oh my God. And Tim and I just stood there. It was like we were frozen, which you hear sometimes happens to people when there's a Bigfoot.
Yes.
sighting,
Yeah.
Right? They just, like, can't move.
I am bona fide 100% slack jawed right now. I mean, this is amazing. This is the best. I mean, the whole interview has been so wonderful to talk
Yes.
to you. But this is just amazing. And you were talking about the UFO, and right at that moment,
Yep.
That's when it started.
Yeah.
that is very rich experience right there.
Yeah, we did a show.
A lot.
We did a
going
show
on.
last year where we went up to the Whitehall, New York,
Oh, cool.
where they had the Bigfoot Festival.
The Adirondack.
Yeah. And we were able to interview the sheriff up there. And it was, what was his name? I'm sorry.
Brian Goslin.
Brian Goslin. We were able to interview him for the show. And we interviewed a couple other people that had, they had, I guess,
Some really, really
interesting sightings. Yeah.
And interactions.
Interactions,
Some
yeah.
Real interactions.
But Mr. Gosling said pretty much the same thing, because he said he was, within 10 feet? Mm-hmm. And he froze, and he just did not know what to do.
I would
and he said
freeze, too.
I guess he was looking into the eyes of the Bigfoot, and he got all emotional, which was, Toss said, boy, that was pretty authentic. So,
Yep, absolutely.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
As much as I think I would like that, I don't know how I would handle it.
Yeah, I don't know how I would handle it, you know?
Yeah, I think I'd soil my trousers. I'm just going to be honest.
Maybe.
Yeah.
I mean, when we were down in Disney World a couple of years ago, Brian set up a meet and greet with me and Chewbacca, and I lost it. It was a total surprise.
Well, there were a lot of things going on.
There was a lot going on. I couldn't believe I was meeting Chewbacca, and
That's awesome.
Not quite Bigfoot, but
Next
Yeah.
best thing.
it was a man in a
Maybe
suit.
better. I don't know.
I was just screaming. I was like, ah, like one of those girls when the Beatles landed on Pan Am and they landed in America.
Oh, that's awesome.
I didn't even know I had it in me.
yeah.
Anyway.
Heidi, this is wonderful. Tell our audience, if they want to contact you, where can they go to online to check you out and maybe do a reading with you, or an energy reading, or a Reiki session,
And have your book on their radar coming out.
yeah.
Yep, absolutely. So the best way to get a hold of me is on my website, which is myspiritexperience.com. And I have all of my information on there, everything that I do. Most of what I do in person, I can also do through remote sessions. So you can get a hold of me there. There's a contact form. You can get a hold of me and just let me know what you're looking for, and I'll be happy to work with you.
Okay.
And will they be able to buy your book from your website when it comes out? Or
Yep.
Okay.
Yep,
Okay.
absolutely.
Great.
We would love to have you back sometime in the future.
Oh, we would love
you,
that.
And you have the radio show. Is that available? Is that like a podcast, or that's just a radio show on a?
Yep. So we have a show that we've been doing for about 10 years, and it's called The Gathering. It was originally called The Gathering Radio Show, and now it's The Gathering Paracast because we switched to video. And that is on our YouTube channel and also on Podbean. We have like 350 episodes that we've done available to listen to on Podbean, and I think it's available other places as well. But yeah, you can listen to all of our back shows there too.
Well, that's cool. That's cool. Well,
Yeah,
I hope you can come back. Maybe when you
Absolutely.
Yeah, and if you can remember the name of that movie with the Bigfoot screaming it, I would love
I'll find it and I'll email it to you guys.
Oh, that's kind of you. Thank you.
All right.
Absolutely.
So, well, thank you so much, Heidi, and
Thank you.
we'll direct some people your way.
Oh, amen. And you've been so generous with your time and information, and thank you.
Yeah, and it seems like we've only scratched the surface.
I know, I feel that way too.
Yeah, but
Right? There's so much fun stuff we can talk about.
okay.
Good.
Well, great.
Good.
I hope this was good for you. So
It was great. Thank
great.
you. You guys
Thank
are
you
awesome.
so
well,
much.
thank you so much for the time.
I am so happy that I just had a feeling. I just had this gut feeling about that she had a Bigfoot experience that I knew I was just going to revel in listening to. And she did.
That's pretty interesting.
I know.
You know what?
And not as though all of her other gifts aren't absolutely phenomenal. I mean, I was
Right.
floored by the person and all that she's capable of doing. But then, boy, if you want a cherry on top, for me, that's the Bigfoot part.
That's the Bigfoot cherry.
It was.
What I find interesting is like when we went to the Sasquatch Festival up in Whitehall, New York.
Yes.
People we were talking with, they were saying pretty much the same thing that she was saying, that because Heidi just said, she believes that there's some connection between UFOs and Bigfoot. And
yes.
and I heard that a lot.
I have
in
heard
Whitehall.
that a lot.
That's a pretty interesting theory. Now, who knows,
But so many people feel, I hear so many people, you have a lot of scientists who say this is like a missing link kind of thing, but Gigantopithecus or what have you.
Right.
But then you have so many people who say there were these very, very odd lights in the forest, and then there was this scream and this sighting or what have you. You do get a lot of that.
They do. I've never seen it, but I hear it a lot.
No, I do hear a lot of the connection between UFOs and.
Yeah.
Well, that was fun, my love.
It was fun. I'm.
Thank you for asking her to come on.
Yeah.
our show.
Well, maybe we'll get her back in the future. Probably after she writes that book, and we could talk about it.
I feel like all the guests that we've had on our show are people with whom I would love to revisit and chat again.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Well, we're going to do it. We're going to do it. Hopefully, she says yes, and that'll be a great thing. So, what do we got coming up next week?
Wait, I need a sip of my Chardonnay.
Oh, okay. Here, let me. Yeah, I got to finish up mine because I got so wrapped up in the show,
good.
I hardly drank any. Okay. Here we
Next,
go.
we will be discussing. A lot of paranormal investigators have come to us and said theaters are like where it's at. They are places, they are buildings that house a tremendous amount of energy, good, bad, everything in between, the full spectrum.
What do you think that is? Because the emotion that
Because
you
there's so much
experience in the theater?
emotion. Yeah.
Yeah.
And for such a sustained period of time. Like a lot of
Right.
theaters here and all over the world are like over 100, 200 years old, some 300. We're going to talk about a theater that is one of the most haunted theaters in England, and it goes back to 1663.
Wow.
Yes.
Well, that's going to be. I think that's going to be a
So
really
we'll be
interesting
talking
show.
about a lot of the experiences the actors have, the people who work in the theater, and audience members, etc., investigators, and
Wow.
things like that. So I'm excited about that.
I am stoked.
Good. And you're also lightly oaked.
Thank you. Oh yes, with
Boop.
this Californian wine. Here we go. No countdown.
But when you say it, it's like you might as well just forget it.
I'm just goofing around. Anyway, thank you for joining us. You know, we say this all the time, but we really do enjoy these shows.
We really enjoy these shows, and
Yeah.
you know what I really, really love is when
I love doing these shows with
I
you.
love doing these shows
Yeah,
with you.
there you go.
Because you're my handsome fella.
Well, thank you, and my pretty girl.
But I really love when listeners send us questions because we want to hear from you, or even just comments or critique.
Yeah, go to our Facebook page, or
Please, yeah. And then
or make a comment. Like if you're listening to a show on YouTube, make some comment. It actually helps us out a bit if you say something. So
it really helps us out. And
Yeah.
also, if you have any kind of cocktail recipe that you would like to send me, so I can prepare something interesting
Ooh,
for.
yeah, and then we'll credit that person on the show.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I would love that.
It'll be a lot of fun. Anyway.
Thanks for listening, everybody.
Yeah, thank you for listening, and we'll be back next week with another episode of
Back to Paranormal.
Good night, everybody.
Good night, and God bless.
God bless you.